We are the sixth group and we are presenting Module 12 entitled Voidable Contracts. But before anything else, I would like to start it with a prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to speak at this video recording. Lord, help me spread my knowledge. Help me articulate my words in an understanding manner. Lord, I ask that you stand with me through all of this. Guide me to speak in your right. Amen. So, voidable contracts. Voidable contracts' essence are valid, binding, and enforceable. It's just because became defective because consent of both parties is defective. It's a formal contract signed by two parties that may become void for a variety of legal reasons. So, a voidable contract, on the other hand, remains valid until the dissatisfied party cancels the contract if certain conditions are not met. For example, a contract involving a minor is an illustration of one that is voidable. Although minors are able to sign contracts, they are also free to choose to break them without facing any consequences. As we can see in the table, there are four types of defective contracts. First, rescissible, Article 1380, voidable, unenforceable, and void. So, kung sa valid yung rescissible, pasok siya. Sa binding, yes, and sa enforceable, yes din siya. Meanwhile, sa voidable, valid din siya, binding, and enforceable. Unenforceable, yes, valid din siya. Pasok din siya sa binding and enforceable, hindi siya pasok. Well, void, lahat hindi siya valid, hindi rin siya binding, hindi rin siya enforceable. And on the second table, there are comparison of four defective contracts. And first, why defective? So, sa rescissible, causes siya ng damage to third person. Meanwhile, sa voidable, consent is defective, unenforceable, lack of authority of form, and void, missing essential elements. And second, can be ratified, yes sa rescissible, yes din siya sa voidable, and yes din siya sa unenforceable. Pero no siya to void. Applicable provisions, pasok siya sa Article 1381 pag rescissible, Article 1390 pag voidable, and Article 1403 pag unenforceable, and Article 1409 pag void. And remedy to void, rescission pag rescissible, annulment pag voidable, and wala siya pag unenforceable, and void wala din. So, sa type ng voidable contracts, meron siyang three types. First, agreement without capacity. You have a permanent impairment that limits your ability to make decisions, thus you are legally prohibited from signing contracts. Second, mutual consent. It happens as a result of an agreement between the people or groups involved. By common consent, their talk avoided the reason for their being there at all. And last, initially rescindable agreements. It is officially end the law, take back a decision, or say that an agreement no longer exists. So on the other slide, there are kind of ratification. So first, let me set or explain what ratification means. So ratification is the official way to confirm something, usually by vote. It is a formal validation of a proposed law. So, ratification can be expressed by oral or written, and be tacit, that explain without words or speech. So requisite of ratification: A contract must be voidable. B, person ratifying knew the reasons why the contract is voidable. C, ratification must have been expressly or impliedly. And D, ratification is made by the injured party. So to make the requisite of ratification short, it means that the contract is voidable. 1. The confirmation is made by the injured contracting party. The confirming party has full knowledge of the vice or defect of the contract. The cause of voidability should have already ceased or disappeared at the time of the ratification. Article 1394. Ratification may be effected by the guardian of the incapacitated person. Ibig sabihin, maaaring mapatibay pa rin ang isang contract kung ang isang tao ay may guardian kung hindi niya kayang pirmahan or naiintindihan yung nakasulat sa kontrata. Article 1395. Ratification does not require the conformity of the contracting party who has no right to bring the action for annulment. Ibig sabihin, ang ratifikasyon na nakapasok sa Article 1395 ay hindi na kailangan ng conformity ng contracting party para makapasok ng action sa annulment. Article 1396. Ratification cleanses the contract from all its defects from the moment it was constituted. Ibig sabihin, nililinis ito ang kontrata na may depekto sa sandaliang ito ay mabuo. Article 1397. The action for the annulment of contracts may be instituted by all who are thereby obliged principally or subsidiarily. However, persons who are capable cannot allege the incapacity of those with whom they contracted, nor can those who exerted intimidation, violence, or undue influence or employed part or caused mistakes base their action upon this clause of the contract. So for the illustrative example, Peter sold a piece of land to his nephew James, a minor. Months later, Peter died. Peter's heirs then brought an action to annul the sale on the ground that James was minor, and therefore without legally capacity to contract. Is the contract voidable? Why? So, for my own opinion, under the principle of reliability of contract, the law states that a contract takes effect not only between the contracting parties, but also between their assigns and heirs. Besides, under voidable contracts, it is stated that persons who are capacitated cannot allege the incapacity of the other under the principle of the estoppel. Article 1398. An obligation having been annulled, the contracting parties should restore to each other the things which have been the subject matter of the contract, which their fruits and the price, with interest except in the cases provided by the law. In obligations to render service, the value therefore shall be the basis for damage. And Article 1398. When the defect of the contract consists in the incapacity of one of the parties, the incapacitated person is not obliged to make any restitution except insofar as he has been benefited by the thing or price received by him.
Civil Code of the Philippines, Article 1400. Whenever the person obliged by the decree of annulment to return the thing cannot do, because it has been lost through his fault, he shall return the fruits received and the value of the thing at the time of the loss, with interest from the same date. Article 1400. For example, ito po yung things object ng kanilang kontrata ay nawala. Can file an action for annulment. For incapacity, the person incapacitated. For vitiated consent, the injured party. Illustrative example. Paul forced Timothy to sell him a specific laptop for 30,000. Timothy filed an action for annulment of the contract of sale, and the same was annulled on July 20, 2020. Meantime, on July 20, 2020, the laptop got lost. What is the liability of Paul? Legal opinion. If due to his fault, to return the value of the thing at the time of loss, interest on the value of the thing fruit received. If due to fortuitous event, the value of the thing at the time of loss but no interest fruit received. Article 1401. The action for annulment of contract should be extinguished when the thing with is the object thereof is lost through the fraud or fault of the person who has a right to institute the proceeding. If the right of action is based upon the incapacity of anyone of the contract parties, the loss of the thing shall not be an obstacle to the success of the action, unless said loss took place through the fraud or fault of the plaintiff. Yung 1401, ang ibig sabihin nito, yung minor o person against whom na exert yung intimidation, violence, sila yung mga person na may right to institute an action, file no annulment. Pero if, for example, sila din yung reason kung bakit nawala yung thing subject of the contract. And meron ding fraud, so pero kapag yan ang nangyari, the action for the annulment of contract should be extinguished. Illustrative example. Paul forced Timothy to sell him a specific laptop for 30,000. Timothy got the laptop and destroyed it. Can Timothy still file an action for annulment? Legal opinion. No more, because by his act of destroying the laptop, he loses his right to file for annulment. Article 1402. As long as one of the contracting parties does not restore what in virtue of the decree of annulment he is bound to return, the other cannot be compelled to comply with what is incumbent upon him. Article 1402. Kasi po yung effect ng annulment, it should return the thing or the object of the contract with interest. Illustrative example. Paul forced Timothy to enter into the contract of barter, whereby Paul exchanged his laptop with Timothy's cell phone. If the contract is annulled, what are the obligations of both parties? One party might have the right to purchase a service, while the other party might have the right to provide a service to that party. Contract rights are related to contract duties, which are the obligation to perform that each party has under the terms of the agreement.